welcome back to the podcast. I am so excited. We're going to make this a brief intro because Jamie Brace, she's got a lot of value bombs. She's the communications and media relations director with Claremore Public Schools out of Oklahoma. Her and I go way back. We're going to kind of talk about her journey into school PR, how she celebrates the entire district, how she got her communication cadres, her communication team, kind of set up as a PLC in her district and how she helps motivate and inspire them. We're going to talk about video and getting your superintendent or school leaders on video and so much more. I am excited for you to learn from her. And actually, we're recording this on School Communicators Day. It's always the second Friday of May. And I think it's just such an amazing day to recognize all of these communications people like you that are doing amazing things for your school all year long. I think every day should be School Communicator Day because you certainly do deserve to be celebrated. And if you like to be celebrated and inspired, you'd love to check out one of our programs. We've got a great boot camp and a membership program to support you. Jamie's actually going to talk about it a little bit and how it's impacted and really propelled her into a promotion. And so I'm excited. She's going to share all about that. So let's jump in to today's interview. Hey there, today's K-12 PR tip is about Instagram stories. Did you know that you now can schedule Instagram stories through the Business Suite app on your phone? You can just check it out. You should be able to schedule those Instagram stories out so that they can hit your Instagram page for your school throughout the day. There are a lot of advantages for consistently adding to your stories because guess what? Every time you add to your story, you get bumped to the front of the line. So that means if somebody gets on the Instagram platform, up on top where the Instagram stories are shown, your page is going to be shown first if you've had a recent story. Just a tip, right now there's some limited options with what you can use for the scheduled Instagram stories. Not all the stickers are there, maybe not all the bells and whistles. But we've got a quick tip for you. If you actually create the Instagram story in your Instagram app, and instead of posting it, you hit the little square with the arrow pointing up, which means you save it to your camera roll, then you could schedule in the Business Suite app by grabbing it there. I hope this tip helps. If you are really looking at Instagram stories, wondering how to get started, what are some tips? I've got an amazing blog resource with a bunch of video tips that show you how to get started with Instagram stories, how to do unique branding. You're going to love it. So check it out. It's waiting for you in the show notes. Now, without further ado, we're going to get started. I can't wait for you to meet Jamie Brace. Let's get started. Welcome to the podcast, Jamie Brace. I think I can hear you now.
Good. Well, it's good to hear you. That was a little bit of a technical difficulty, but if we're nothing else, we are problem solvers.
We are problem solvers, and we didn't even have to call the tech department mainly because I don't even have one. But you guys that are listening in, Jamie and I just troubleshooting away here, and happy to be here. It's been a hot second. Like I just have wanted to have Jamie Brace on the podcast since I started. And now we're into the 60s already, Jamie.
I know, but luckily that's not my age, so I'm good.
Yes.
I'm okay with 60 episodes.
Yes, that's awesome. Well, I'm so glad you're here, and I can't wait for our listeners to meet you. Why don't you just spend, I know you've got a lot of titles, a lot of responsibilities, but,
Yes.
Kind of give us your background, what your role is there at Claremore Public Schools, and just, kind of introduce us to Jamie Brace.
Well, Andrea, I actually have some big news for you today, which you don't even know.
What?
So are you ready?
Yes.
I am narrowing down all of my titles to one as of this week.
Congratulations.
So all of this work. So I am always been, the communications director for Claremore Public Schools, but also I originally started out as a teacher here, and I was the director of the career development program. Now my history is I taught marketing and PR years ago, took some time off to raise my own children because as you know, I'm an all-in kind of girl, go it big or go home. So my work-life balance is not exactly. So sometimes you have to give up your passion to also pour into your own passion. But for the last 8 years, I have taught career development and here at Claremore Public Schools. And when I started and back into education, when I interviewed, I just said, as a parent, I want to partner with you. And my daughter had just graduated. And I felt like as a parent, I didn't know what was going on. And so these are some of the things because of my skills I want to do for you as a high school. Because parents can't partner with us if they don't know what's happening at the school. And let's face it, our darlings we're raising to be adults aren't adults. And so they don't always communicate with us. So I began doing some Facebook page, Facebook page of the high school. My superintendent was kind of like, he let me do it, but I kind of, was hanging on by a thread. And really, I just used it for communication. Even though I had done marketing for businesses, when my time was off, I did consulting. So I knew that it really wasn't a tool just for announcements. However, that's all he wanted to do. That's what I did. Well, when things started happening here, the surveys would come back and it would say, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'd do without, the information on Facebook page and announcements. I didn't know this was happening. I didn't know that was happening. So it just began to roll. And then when our superintendents changed, he was a little more proactive and a little more on brand and about marketing. And he didn't know me from Adam. And he just kind of said, he noticed that the high school was different. And so then as things began to happen, his first year, we had a bomb threat and he was at a training. So I had to handle that. I didn't know if I was supposed to handle it or not, but we did. And along with the principals, obviously, and the force. And then we had the teacher walkout and I ended up handling that. And I kind of proved myself that I understood communication. So he asked me to do the bond issue, proved my marketing skills there. And then I just began to get more and more. So kind of my roles kind of flipped. So I got a stipend and I got an assistant. And so we kind of partnered to do the career development part. And that's where we are now with my big announcement of he called me into the office on, I don't know, Tuesday or Wednesday, under the impression that I was going to have to handle something, I'm sure. And he gave me an email of a parent complaint. And I looked at him and was like, this is nothing. Why are you calling me here out of my job for this? And then he said, so what if? And so as of next year, I will be full-time comms. So I'm so excited.
That's awesome, and
I know.
congratulations. I'm so excited for you, Jamie. So, we're gonna kind of dive into that, and we're definitely
Yes.
linking all of your social media pages. I know that you handle more than just social media and have handled a lot in your district, but the work that you do is beautiful. So I want people
Thank
to
you.
be able to look at what kind of things you're sharing. If you're watching this on video, you can see Jamie looks beautiful. I haven't showered yet. I got my hat on, but she also has a lot of branding. I see a ton of red in that room, and you're
Well, when you are a red and white zebra, which doesn't make sense, you have to really sell that because everybody's like, what? But that's kind of what makes us unique. I believe there's only one other one. So I can't remember if it's Illinois or Ohio, but I think it's in Illinois. So story has it that apparently our football uniforms came out wrong. And so they were like, they look like red and white zebras. And our name changed and we were zebras from there on out. And here lies our herbivore eating mascot that is not the right colors. But here's the thing. I always believe in being different and making yourself stand out. So that's what we do. We stand out and we own our differences. And that's what makes us zebras.
Yeah, I love it. I love that story too. But you really just, in that background story, it's just funny how you came about helping with communications. Like you're trained teacher, you were helping them with that, but you saw a need as a parent, like, hey, I really need some help with this. So why don't why don't I step in and help? And that's awesome. You were able to work into that. I think many people listening are probably doing communications, maybe on a volunteer basis, maybe at a part-time basis. But you showing your worth, you didn't ask for it all right away. You showed your worth, and then were able to,
Well,
continue.
it was actually in the interview when they were interviewing me to come back to teach. And I said, I'll do this, but here's something else I want to do. I want to help you in this situation, with
Right.
this situation. And they were like, okay. And luckily, I had my principal's niece in class when I taught marketing the first time around. So she knew me well enough to know that I was skilled in the area.
Yeah. So you really started at the high school level, and now
Yes.
you've gone into the district level. And I'm sure there's people listening that are at a school level, but they really see the need for more consistent branding and communication and social media efforts from the district level.
Right.
Any tips on, the transition of when you went from the high school to the overall district that you'd be able to share?
Well, I mean, honestly, I think I just earned my way because I was doing such a good job. And like I said, the superintendent, when he came in, he's like, it's noticeably different at the high school
Sure.
when we're talking about branding and storytelling. And even though a lot of it was announcement based, it still had a look of storytelling and why we did the things. And, you know, Claremore homecoming is equal to a college homecoming. And nobody believes that. He didn't believe it when I told him. I'm like, you have never experienced a homecoming. And he and I are both Oklahoma State fans, and it's like America's brightest homecoming there. And I said, we're a mini one of those. So it's telling that story. And he was like, no, no, no. But then when I showed him with all the stuff we did, then he's like, I get it. So
Right.
I think part of that just happening at the high school, he began to see we need that on a district level.
Right. So
You
so
know,
how big is your entire school district?
really, it's not that big. It's only 3,600 people.
Okay.
I mean, I graduated from a school with 1,000 in my class. So when they talk about how big Claremore is, I'm like, the high school that I teach at is about the size that I graduated with.
Oh, wow.
So we run about 1,200 in our high school.
Okay.
So not huge.
Okay. So social media and how that fits into your role. So what kind of channels do you run? What kind of stories are you sharing? The platforms, and how do you get your content? Can you kind of share that with us?
Sure. We have a district page,
Okay.
Andrea, but we also have site pages. And really, they only started after when I started the Claremore High School page. Then a few of those started popping up because they kind of wanted to do what we were doing. But then when the district page started, we began to identify those really as feeder opportunities so I could get content for the district page.
Okay.
And it was just easier because I could get it there. A lot of them are announcements and stuff, but they're not what we use. One of the things, again, through Social School EDU, encouragement and accountability is like building a team. And so my superintendent did let me this year, or may have been I can't remember. It's running together.
Yes.
Because when
COVID.
COVID hit, I always say last year, and it really wasn't last year, it was the year before.
Right.
And it's like this blank. But so now we have identified people at each site as our communication cadres. They get a small stipend. And then I began bringing them in and training them so that they could put content out into, so that I could steal it from them
Sure.
as well.
So is that on Facebook? They're running a Facebook
Yeah.
page, or are they also running Twitter and Instagram?
Yeah. My sites only have Facebook.
Okay.
The district and the high school have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and then a LinkedIn account, which I'm not really active on right now, but maybe with my new role, I can expand that because you know me.
Yeah.
So we do have all of those.
Okay, awesome. And so you've got people at each location, they're sharing stuff
Mhm.
on their Facebook page, and you can pull some of that into the
Right.
district. How do you monitor that? How are you looking at their page each day, or do you have a special method of kind of keeping an eye on what they're posting so that then you can say, oh, this is a great story. I should pull this over to the district
Yeah.
page?
Well, our district also is a PLC district, so we have professional learning communities. So at the beginning of this year, I said I want a professional learning community with this group of communication cadres, and so we meet every Friday at a time, and for about an hour and a half, and that's where I do training. That's where we talk about what kind of content we need, those type of things. But then I usually my Friday night date with Andrea when she's not really there, but is to I really just kind of search those, pick the best ones, and then I'll batch it out over the district page. Obviously, if things are time sensitive, we leave space for those things to pop in. You know, if we're going to have a band concert, I'll leave a space for that so the next day I can put that in. But that's kind of how I do it. We're in the baby steps of that. So the other thing that I have done is just found partners and networked within. I've been here 31 years, so I know people and parents or really teachers. They have Facebook groups for their classes, not pages, and they add me into their Facebook page. And sometimes I just start scrolling and stealing and sending them a little note to say, tell me more about this project. It's a lot of work, but it really, I think, shows. I mean, now I've got too much content. In fact, the other day I was going through my pictures going, oh, I haven't posted that. I haven't posted that. So hence the question for the social school EDU question is, what's your summer content? Everything I didn't get posted.
Yeah. And I'm sure some people are like, too much content? Like, oh, that's crazy, which is great.
Yeah.
Now, you call them your communication
Well, their
cadres?
title is cadre, and I
How
did
do you
not
spell
create
that?
that.
How do you spell that?
CADRE with a hyphen.
Okay.
But I call them my communication team.
Okay.
So
Okay, I just wanted to know, and I love that you got them in a PLC, so like every Friday you get to actually talk to them. I
yes,
just wanted to share one tip, and I don't know if this would work for you or not, but especially when you're following other pages. So again, this is a little bit technical, but on Facebook, in your insights, you know how you can compare to other pages?
I
Well,
have
you could
that.
actually put in those other school pages and look at that engagement. Like if you see all of a sudden, like some of the pages have really good
Mm-hmm.
engagement, or you can see that, hey, they've posted 17 things in the last week. I should really look at some of those to pull them over to the district page. You could do that because I don't love the news feed option for your page. It always brings up suggested content. And I'm like, no, I have liked like 15 pages from my own district that I want to see. I don't want to see this stuff from other pages. So it's just a little hack. Have you ever tried that?
I do. I did
Okay.
try that, but a lot of times because I'm an administrator on theirs, I'll just go to the page and search it. It kind of helps me too because if I do each school, it also helps me evaluate what they're doing. So when I meet with them on Friday, they have to do a little report card for themselves, like how many were announcements, how many were storytelling, how many were student, those type of things. So it helps me evaluate if I just scroll through their page and kind of get an idea of what their week looks like.
Okay. That's awesome. I love that. And I love that you're, reflecting on how you're doing and all of that. So you've talked a little bit about social school for EDU, and
Oh,
we go like way back.
yeah.
And
And do my little heart, my little heart. I'm never good at that.
me neither. It's my
There's
age. It's
a
my
video.
age. I'm
There
not.
you go. If you're watching this on video, there's my heart for Andrea.
Yes. So I remember the story, but why don't you tell everybody how we first connected, and then maybe some of what you've gotten involved with in what we provide.
Well, like I said, I had a superintendent was proactive, and I began asking like there's some professional developments and things that I could do too in the communication field, because I felt like I kind of had a handle on social media. And I don't mean that in an arrogant way. I've just been doing it for 10 years with some clients. But he ran into Kara Abney, who was the Oaks for president at the time. Love her too. She's awesome. Shout out to Kara. And so I went with him for a half a day, and we just came to see you. She had said, "Oh, I've got this girl, and she's so exciting. You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. You've got to come if you're working on having a communications person." So honestly, I kind of went with like, okay, I kind of know social media, but all right, let's go. And it's a good time. It's an hour and a half drive. So I had the superintendent like right there in the car. So if nothing else, it was 3 hours that he had to listen to me. And we all know I can talk. So, and ask for things. Every time I walk in, he's like, "Jamie, what are you going to ask for?" I'm like, seriously? Okay, yeah, this is what I want. But so we went, and you were awesome. And you did I think it's the 10 questions to evaluate your social media, which was so funny because the high school one, check, 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 check. I was like, good. But it really helped him realize that we needed somebody to focus on the district. And I had just started one because I talked him, I didn't have to talk him into it. And I think we had like 111, maybe 333. It was just one of those numbers that stuck out. And I was like, but my high school one was like 3,600. And so I felt good about that one, just not the district. And so after that was over, when we were driving home, I'm like, we need to look up this information and find out what the membership is. So I did, and he signed it and said, "Let's get her done." And I did, and it's been true love ever since.
Yeah, I think you were part of our coaching program.
I was.
And which we don't offer that one-to-one coaching anymore, but we have the group membership, and then you even went through our boot camp program.
Yeah.
And again, Jamie, you are at the advanced level. I mean, they're going to look at their pages. They're beautiful. Why do you think that it's beneficial for you to be included in our some of our paid communities?
Well, just kind of like I said, I'd been doing it, and I knew it, but it's the accountability, it's the creativity. At some point, I mean, as many things as I was juggling, I'm like, I can't even think about what to do. I don't even have, oh my gosh, I didn't even know it was School Bus Drivers Day or whatever. And really just that, again, creativity, accountability, and relationships. Build my tribe of people who get me, because we are on an island in what we do, kind of thing. And so I'm very task oriented. So sometimes being on an island is good for me. People are like, "So how'd you do with COVID?" I was like, "Oh, I thrived, baby. It was checklist. Put me in my room with my headset. I'm good to go." But we can't live that way, in that experience. So I needed a tribe, and I needed people to understand what I was doing and help. And here's the other thing. Facebook changes all the time. And honestly, I don't have time to keep up with it. So that helps me, and any of those social medias. So it's this constant thing of, hey, by the way, this is changing, and I'm going to give you a summary instead of me having to search Google and go here and go there. It really helps that. And the professional development that I have received in Social School EDU, I think I said it's a ROI that even Shark Tank would take a chance on. I mean, the return on investment has been tenfold. And you can see it in our stats. You can see it in the products I've produced. You can see it in the fact our bond issue. I've tried to talk Mr. Fraser into doing some things, and he wasn't, but because of those report cards, because of that engagement, he's like, okay, Jamie, what else are you going to ask me to do?
Well,
but it's just been, and the cheerleading too. I'm a little bit competitive, not huge competitive, but I'm really competitive with myself and whether I do better. But it's so funny because I'll look at those deals and I'll be like, okay, am I in the top? Am I in the top little things? And it really doesn't mean anything. I mean, really, but it makes me feel like I've reached my goal of not only being a consumer, but also being a contributor.
Right. I love it. And you're so involved. You get what you put into it, right? I mean, and
Yes.
you got to take the credit, Jamie, because you're the one doing the work. But it is true that we make it easier. I think,
Yes.
in some cases, some people are like, well, social media is only part of my job, and so, I don't really want to spend money just on that one portion. My argument, I guess, would be, well, we make social media so fun and so easy that you have time to focus on maybe some of the other things in
Yeah.
your role that need to be focused on, and social media is just like, I got this, and it's because of that community inspiration and ideas, and this is what it means for schools when something is changing.
But you strengthen all those other areas because if I'm focusing on spotlights, well, that can also go on my website. It
Yeah.
also tells my story. I mean, we talk about being a family here, and I know a lot of schools say that. But again, we're very unique, and people see that not just on our social media because it goes on our website, it goes in the community, those type of things. So you may say it's just a part of my job, but it's not independent of the other things that I'm doing.
Right.
It all goes together kind of in your marketing mix.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, campaigns, or, some people call them campaigns and then they get like intimidated by that name campaign. So a lot of times I just call them features, right? Like it's a weekly
Right.
feature or whatever. It's really powerful in driving consistent content because it's something that, okay, I'm going to do this over and over. What are some of the campaigns that have been most successful for Claremore?
Well, being a marketing person, campaigns are what I like to focus on. But one of the things that I really the year before that tried to get Mr. Frazier to do, which is my superintendent, is I was like, okay, you're new to our community, and we're kind of a closed community in the sense of you're an outsider until you're an insider. And we hired outside of our district to take the spot here that year. And so I had been trying to get him to do somewhat like features, some, hey, Fridays with Fraser video. And he would go, no, 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 people don't want to see me. But then he's like, okay, I'll do one. And he did one, and then we did another one, and we featured different things. It's not really a podcast, but it just talks about what's going on. Well, then COVID hit, and I'm like, okay. And so we would do some for just staff, staff version, or we do Fridays with Fraser. It was funny. We had to do like Fridays with Fraser on Monday, Monday edition, because the information was just rolling, 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 rolling. And sometimes we just didn't have time. And so we started that during right before COVID, but it really made an impression on him because people would say, oh my gosh, I saw what you said, or I understood, or thank you for telling us yourself. And I think it really created an opportunity for him to embed himself into this community a lot quicker than doing that and just develop those relationships. I think people feel like they have a relationship with him and can call and talk to him because he's very much one of those people. It's like, oh, I can't talk to the superintendent. And I'm like, yes, you can. So that was one, and it's been going on. We kind of had to slack off here at the end, mostly because my responsibilities right now are with all the things happening. We're fitting a year's worth of NHS work into a 9 weeks. And like we just did a 10K and raised $13,000 for our school.
For your National Honor Society, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And but we are doing that. So I told him the other day, I was like, okay, we're going to get back on that.
Yeah. So I want to ask some questions about that because there's a lot of people listening that are just like, I wish that I could get somebody to talk on video, but they're not comfortable. And you said he was uneasy. So just tell me about how long are the videos?
It just depends on the topic with
Okay.
COVID, but they're not very long. Some can be, I think the longest we ever did one was 10 minutes.
Okay.
But that was heavy into a lot of the stuff that we were doing. We also started featuring some things that were going on in the classroom. So we had quite a bit of content there that he wasn't talking. But I would say his videos are really 3 to 5 minutes.
Okay. And it's
Yeah.
not highly produced, and we'll link we'll link a
No.
direct link to a couple examples. I'll have you send some of them that you think listeners would tune
Okay.
into, and we'll put them in the show notes, okay? But
Okay.
yeah, like
No, highly produced.
okay.
My iPhone and a $20 tripod. I mean, the first couple is me holding. I'm like, okay, now I need a tripod. So I got online and purchased some little $20 tripod. And he's at his desk. I mean, I do kind of try to clean off, and I kind of try to set his monitors and stuff to our website so they roll. But other than that, it's really he and I'm going, okay, what are we going to talk about? And we talk about the points. He has a laptop in front of him, and he really just puts his post-it notes up there. So they're really, and because it has a zebra on it too. So I'm all about the branding.
Yes.
And then we just talk. And it's like, okay, what do you want them to know about this? And he says it, and I hit record and stop. And then we do the next question, record and stop. And I throw it together in, I have two options. I can throw it together in iMovie during COVID, but I also sometimes, now that we're back in school, we've been in person since August. I have a ZTV, which is our multimedia program. And sometimes he'll help me if I'm on a time crunch, but he even has it already set up in Premiere Pro for my sizing and he has the intro, and he just throws it in there. So it is low production.
Yeah. Well, and what we just learned, and we're doing some breakout training in our membership group soon on just some of these updates. But what we're learning about the algorithm is that Facebook, it likes video, and some people are like, my videos aren't being seen by as many people as they should be. But Facebook actually likes consistency. So if you had a Fridays with Frasier or some other kind of a feature, and you traditionally shared it 7:30 a.m., let's say, or 6 a.m. every Friday morning, it likes that consistency, and that can help the reach of it. And so just an idea, and just
and we noticed that when we were doing them that way, because we had so much content to get out. And next year I'll be in the building with him, so I can find the 30 minutes.
Right.
But for me to leave the high school to come over here and make sure my students were taken care of, it had to be a day that my assistant was working, was out. But so that is one of my goals, is to be more consistent with that.
Yeah. And it's an opportunity to increase the trust, the transparency.
Yeah.
And if you're sitting there still saying, my superintendent will not do this, is there somebody in a leadership role that would be willing to do it? Because you literally, $20 tripod. I've got like a nice light that's here. I've got a little ring light.
Yeah.
Those also are like $20 on Amazon. Like, it's not, you don't need some green room or anything like that. People actually resonate sometimes better with those less produced videos anyways.
And that's what people said, is that, oh, he's authentic, he's vulnerable, and he is well-spoken, but he's not, he's real. Sometimes he messes up his grammar when he's talking. Sometimes he thinks through it, but it's real. It's what it is. Now, there's times I had cut stuff out too. I'm like, yeah, we can't say that. But those are simple edits.
Right.
Simple, just cut, splice, throw it together.
Yeah. And you're using iMovie, and that's a free app, like on your phone, or if you've got a Mac. He's
not polished. So when you see them, you'll know it's like, he's just real.
Right.
This is what you're going to get if you came and sat down in the office with him.
Yeah, I love that. All right, our time is flying by, Jamie. But what would you say just to some? I'm just such a big fan of yours. But if someone's listening and they're just thinking about signing up for maybe boot camp or maybe our membership program, it's an investment. It's it's like, I don't know if I should really invest. What would you say to that person right now who's thinking about it?
I'm saying there's no better money you can spend, period. End of discussion. Let me talk to your superintendent. Let my superintendent talk to your superintendent. because just the amount of knowledge and camaraderie, and not only will it be good for your social media, it will be good for the rest of your marketing strategies. Because when you come up with a series, it doesn't just go on social media. So it's on our website so people can go see it. So again, it is the return on the investment. I'm telling you, every single one of the panel members on Shark Tank would be like, I want it. They would be fighting over stock in this particular investment.
Oh,
So,
that's awesome. Well, thank you. And it's awesome because of people like you. I mean, and I'm always learning. I thought when I started, some of these programs, I'm like, I got to have all the answers. No, I don't. We've brought hundreds of school communicators together that together have really
yes,
good answers. And so that's awesome. Well, I love you. I love the work that you do, Jamie. You're amazing. And I'm sure the listeners are like, I want to be friends with Jamie. So what's the best way to stay connected with you?
I'm kind of an email girl.
Okay.
So I do check my emails. I usually clear my emails every night as much as I can. But you can hit me up on any of the socials. I'm the one who managed the public school. So Claremore Public Schools, you just need to reference why you're doing that, or you can find me on my personal social medias.
Okay. And I'll
I'm
link.
all over the place.
Yes.
I know that you like it to streamline in a funnel,
It's
but I'm just like, hit me up wherever.
It's okay. Well, what I'll do is I'm going to share your email in the show notes. So everybody check those out. You can definitely reach out to Jamie if you've got more questions. But for sure, check out her Facebook, her Instagram, Twitter page. You will see the red and white unique zebras out there, loud and proud. And I love it. And just a lot of, we could have talked hours about just all the branding work and the beautiful graphics that you do. And you really take the time. Your school is really blessed to have you, Jamie.
Thank you. Well, from your mouth to my superintendent's ears.
Yeah, and I mean, you just got a promotion, and I'm not surprised at all because
Well,
you've done amazing work already with all the hats that you've had to wear. Now I'm just excited to see you take it to that next level when you actually get to kind of focus in just on that. So good luck, and thank you so much for spending
thank
so much time
you.
with us today.
Well, Andrea, you're awesome. Your team's awesome. I mean, Stephanie, I started with her too, ended with you. So anything that we can do to help you guys, but set goals. That's my other thing. Don't forget to set goals.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, we didn't even get into all of your
I
little
know.
yeah, your little tips. You kind of talk about setting goals, which I tell Jamie, dude, like set like one or two big goals. No, she's got like 15 of them. But I just talked to, I don't know if you've connected with Haley Watt in the membership group, but she's just like you and she's got all these goals. And I'm like, hold down, girl. Like you've got a website redesign coming up. You don't need to be doing all the things. And she wants to do all the things. I'm like, you need to.
I like to do all the things. Go big or go home.
Yeah, but
I came to play.
but it's driven you forward, right?
Yes.
And you hold yourself accountable. Well, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and thanks everybody for tuning in. I'm sure you've got a lot of ideas from this conversation, and if you are interested in any of our programs, our boot camp, it only happens a few times a year, so you got to grab your seat. And our membership program, we would love to have you in there. We've got so much professional development and resources. It's like hitting the easy button, don't you think, a little bit?
Well, and I was going to say on that boot camp, yes. And if you can sign up for summer, do it in the summer because then you can really focus on it and maximize your experience. So
yes, and at the time this airs, I'm not sure if we're going to have any openings because we're down, but we'll see. But we've got to.
Well, I also did it in February, and it was still fabulous.
Okay,
so
awesome. Yes, well, check it out on our website. We've got the links also in the show notes. So, thanks again for tuning in, and Jamie, we'll see you soon.
Okay.
All right, bye-bye.
Go Zebras.